as we zero into what's happening this weekend with the Philadelphia Eagles. The whole gang is here. Bill is here, and Ray is here. All right, so, this is a game where you go, okay, they should win this game like they should have won last week, and now they're going to go on a roll. And then all of a sudden, somebody stops me in my tracks. And it's like the national perception of what the Eagles are right now. Well, looking at the Athletics power rankings, and the Eagles are ranked 18th in the league in power rankings. And I go, wait a minute, they're 18th. Nobody thinks they're any good. They're going to go to MetLife Stadium here against the Giants, a game that we all think is just a bop. And yet the line is kind of slender. And I'm going, wait a minute, could they possibly lose to the New York Football Giants? I don't get it. Now, I don't know. I look at the Eagles, I go, they're fine against these kind of teams. But maybe they're not fine. And, of course, the big thing this weekend will be the return of Saquon Barkley and the ramifications of that, and we'll get into all that. But let's first discuss the perception of what the Eagles are. Now, in these power rankings, they are ranked behind the following teams in the order. So if you go 18, so our start was 17. Bengals, Cowboys, now we're going up the list now. Seahawks, Steelers, Bears, Chargers, Bucks, 49ers, all right. Falcons, Bills, all right. Packers, all right. Commanders are at 6th. The Eagles are 18. The Washington Commanders are 6th. And then the Texans. And, of course, then you have the top-notchers, the Chiefs, the Lions, the Ravens, and the Vikings, who are ranked number 1. Now, when you saw this, Bill, did it have any effect on you on what national examiners think of the Philadelphia Eagles?
It doesn't. And I think a lot of the negativity is being overblown a lot about this team. And you look at the way this season has started. It really hasn't been that bad. I know that we want to focus on the negative. They're 3-2. 3 of the 5 teams that they've played have a 4-2 record. They played a game in Brazil. They were on the road in New Orleans on a short week. They were on the road in Tampa Bay against 2 teams that were good. The Saints are only 2-4 now, but they were good when you played them. And we knew all offseason, or at least some of us knew, I was telling people this, it would be naive of us to think that this team was going to come out and be firing on all cylinders from week 1. You had a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator, a new center, a new right guard, a new running back, tons of new personnel on the defensive side of the football. You had to give this team time. And if the Philadelphia Phillies this year showed us anything, does it matter how you start or how you finish? Because everybody was ready to anoint the Philadelphia Phillies in the beginning of the season as World Series champions. Look how it went. So I think we're overreacting a little bit, especially with what happened with the head coach and people not feeling good about the head coach. But if you take a step back, Mike.
You think who's overreacting? Eagle fans or people that are examining the team nationally?
I think a lot of people. I think locally, fans, media, national media. I think a lot of people where if you took a step back and you tried to be objective about this team, it's not that bad. You could be in a lot worse of a position. You're 3-2. You got a top 10 offense. The defense looked very good last week. I know it was the Cleveland Browns, but they should continue to grow. I preached patience in the summer, and I want to try to practice what I preach because this is a lot of change. There are a lot of new concepts, coaching concepts.
There's a lot of change in the NFL. I mean, there are teams that are playing with rookie quarterbacks, for crying out loud. I mean, the fact that people that are examining this nationally think as little as the Eagles to rank them 18th gets my attention.
No, it should get your attention.
I mean, why would that be? Why would the Eagles be? What are these just Eagle haters? That drop them down to 18th?
That particular one that you're citing from The Athletic where they rank him 18th?
Yeah.
You got the Cowboys above him? I mean, that loses all credibility.
Well, look, in your eyes, but
you just got smoked if you're Dallas.
So you're telling me, would you rank the Bengals in front of the Eagles right now?
The Bengals in front of the Eagles? No.
Okay. Would you rank the Cowboys ahead of the Eagles?
No.
Would you rank the Seahawks ahead of the Eagles? Would you rank the Steelers ahead of the Eagles? The Steelers are making a quarterback change for crying out loud. Would you rank the Bears ahead of the Eagles right now? The Chargers, the Bucks. You hate the Bucks. Would you rank all these teams ahead of the Eagles? Why would people be ranking all these teams ahead of the Eagles unless they're looking into the window of the Eagles' soul?
Well, first of all, power rankings always bother me because what are you basing it on? Power rankings. What's the evaluation?
You're evaluating
what's the criteria?
Whether a team is better than the other.
Yeah, but if you're basing it off of where they stand right now, well, then, yeah, you'd have to put the Commanders above them because the Commanders have looked better right now. But when you take a step back, I'm not confident that the Commanders are going to be good the whole season.
I get it. They got them 12 places ahead of the Eagles.
Yeah, that list loses credibility for me.
Well, this is the thing, and this is the conversation. It loses credibility in your eyes. You are provincial. You are involved in this whole thing. You are looking at the Eagles maybe in a better light than other people are. Other people are saying, this team really doesn't have anything. That's what they're saying. If they're 18, like if they were like 10 or 12, and some of these teams were ranked behind them, okay, well, they're seeing something that maybe we're not seeing.
Well, NFL.com ranks them 12. ESPN ranks them 13th. CBS ranks them 15th, and The Athletic ranks them 18th. Based off of how they've played, getting beat by the Bucs, squeaking by the Cleveland Browns, I can understand why they would rank them there in the power rankings. But I do think if we're being objective and we're not overreacting to what happened with the head coach last week.
Oh, so you think that's what it is?
I think a lot of it has to do with the negative reaction to Nick Sirianni.
On that note, let me read the synopsis on why the rationale that the Eagles are ranked 18th. They put little tidbits in here. So they go, last week they were 18. Last week, also 18. They came off a win, and they stayed at 18 after beating the Browns, right? They didn't move up. That's ridiculous. One big question, what's going on with Nick Sirianni? The Eagles head coach showed up after the bye week with a shaved head, chirped at his home team fans late in the game, and then showed up for the post-game news conference with his 3 young children in tow. Sirianni doesn't call the offense or defense for the Eagles, so if his only contribution is this kind of stuff, will Philly make a change? So this pretty much confirms what you're thinking, that they're taking this Sirianni thing and maybe blowing it up. The other side of it is the Eagles are 21st in the league in point differential. And also, they, let's see, what was the stat? They haven't scored 20 points or more in 4 straight games. So these things count.
They do. And they're also a -6 in turnover differential, which is 28th in the NFL.
Yeah.
They only have 2 takeaways on defense, which is their fewest since 1937. But yet they're still 3-2. So the thing is that turning the ball over to me has been what the major issue was with this football team through the first 5 games. If they could clean up turnovers, they're going to be in a good spot. And you saw them not turn the ball over against Cleveland. Now, they do have the blocked field goal, which results in 6 points the other way. You must
say that for any team. They don't turn the ball over.
But the Eagles haven't done it.
Okay, they didn't do it last week. But if they're a team inclined to lose that turnover battle.
No, I'm saying the Eagles haven't won the turnover battle. Like, you're going 13 consecutive games now.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Where they haven't won the turnover battle.
Isn't that like their DNA at this point?
Well, that's what's got to change. And that's why I go back more towards Jalen. Whereas if Jalen can protect the football, which he did against Cleveland, I think this team's going to be just fine, and I think they win the NFC East.
Okay.
But
I got to be honest with you, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that they have this little support amongst football people. And I'm thinking about, they just have a grudge against the Eagles, or are they looking and saying, they're not that good? I don't know. Let's bring in Ray. Ray, you heard Bill. Bill says, not a big deal. How about you?
We keep doing the same thing with this team. Well, if this wasn't this way, if that wasn't that way, this is who they've been.
Yeah.
We've been making excuses for them. I have in my apartment a nice look over all of Lincoln Financial Field the night they wore Kelly Green for the first time against the Dolphins back last October. It's been nearly a calendar year since that night. You want to know why I referenced that night? That's the last time they won by double digits. This is a team that we continue to talk about how talented it is, how good it is, and we haven't seen them really put together an authoritative game in almost a calendar year, where we've been able to say decisively they stepped up and beat their opponent, where we weren't like, well, they won, but this was scary, or they got their rear ends handed to them in some of these games. It's been tough to watch this team and just say, yeah, well, they're good. They're good. They're talented enough. They could do it. I'm sick and tired of the if this, if that. I want them to go out there and actually put a performance forward that we can talk about like, yeah, that was a decisive win.
Let me ask both of you a question, though. And what Ray's saying about not blowing out a team, that goes back to last season. And as much as we like to focus on last year, it's a completely different team. It's two new coordinators. You got a lot of new personnel on defense, new personnel on the offensive line at running back. Let's just look at this season. Do you think that we were being a little naive, though, to expect this team in the first 5 games with all of that change, new offensive concepts, new center, new right guard, new defensive concepts with Vic Fangio, all new defensive personnel pretty much across the board. There's a lot of new defensive personnel that in the first 5 weeks, outside of the Cleveland Browns, that they would go to Brazil and blow out the Packers, that they would be able to blow out the Falcons, that they would have a short week against the New Orleans Saints team that was dominant at the time and blow them out, or go down to Tampa and blow them out. What I'm saying is I think we have unrealistic expectations for this team in the first 5 weeks. I think people are overreacting to a small sample size of 5 games when we should have expected this with all of the change that is going on with this football team. And to be 3-2 in light of all of those, being back-to-back road games, short weeks, Brazil, everything they're dealing with, and all the change, it's not that bad.
Apparently, these national people didn't consult with you.
It's not that bad.
Because they're looking at it completely different. They won a game last week, and this power ranking didn't move them up. In other words, there was nothing about the Browns game that impressed anybody nationally.
Yeah, which is absurd. And unfortunately, a lot of it gets brushed under the rug because of what happened with Sirianni. But I've done this with you before. There was a lot of positive in that game against the Browns.
Good. A lot. All right. We'll talk about it. 610-632-0975. It's a big show. At 11 o'clock, my old colleague, Angelo Cataldi, who is behind this movie and involved in it. And so, actually, I was interviewed a lot at the Wing Bowl documentary, which is going to be shown next week. But we're going to talk to Angelo about this Eagles thing, because I'm guaranteeing you, he'll lay into Sirianni today. He's got
I know he is.
Yeah, and we'll talk about a lot of stuff in our past, but specifically about the movie coming up and about how he feels. You know, when a guy's been silenced in retirement, you store up a lot of stuff, a lot of venom, right? 610-632-0975 is how you get into the Mike Missanelli Show. We're back after this.